I'm going to go ahead. All right. Sounds good, guys. So welcome. It is March 18th, 2024. Thank you so much for being here. I am super grateful for each and every single one of you. I have it as a main intention today, very special day. Our industry is changing, and we're committed to bringing you the best information possible. That way you guys are equipped to be able to pivot and thrive and capitalize. So I'm going to go over a couple of updates. Then we're going to get into the settlement, the questions and also things that we are seeing, the implications. And then we'll go ahead and bring up our special guest today. That again, right? The really powerful thing is that context-wise, this happened in Australia, New Zealand, all around the world about a decade ago. When it happened, the really awesome thing that happened is that the average commission prior to this happening was about $60,000 an agent. And I think it blew up to almost $500,000 in average commission after it happened. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to mean something negative. It's actually something very positive, which we're going to be covering here. So let me go ahead and share my screen here quickly, just so we can get into the subject matter. So remember to be present, bring your full attention to the Zoom, eliminate distractions, focus and stay with the conversation, and engage and drop insights. Understand that how you do anything is how you do everything. And remember that this message today is specifically for you. So NAR Settlement Update. So I'm going to do some affirmations. Yes, we are going to bring our energy up because high energy equals high income. We already know that how that works. So first and foremost, we're going to do some affirmations as a community. So I am going to ask you guys to increase your energy in this moment. Even if you might not be feeling like it, I want you to increase your energy to level 10. We're going to read these affirmations out loud. You can unmute yourself in this moment because we're going to be saying them together as a community. And then after, we will go into our other exercises and we'll get into everything else. So are you guys ready?
Ready.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. All right.
We are
Ready.
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 Just repeat after
Yes,
me. One,
yes.
2, 3, power up.
Power up.
1, 2, 3,
Power
up.
1, 2, 3, power up.
Power up.
Power up.
Power up.
High energy equals high income.
High
Energy
energy.
equals high income.
Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better.
Every day and every way I'm getting better and better.
Every day and every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger.
Every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger.
Every day and every way, I'm getting smarter and smarter.
Every day and every way I'm getting smarter and smarter.
All I need is within me now.
All I need is within me now.
Perfect health.
I have perfect health.
I was born to win.
I was born to win.
I will always keep growing.
I will always keep going.
I was born to be great.
I was born to be great.
Today will be the best day of my life, no matter what.
Today will be the best day of my life, no matter what.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for playing full out. I am super grateful for each and every single one of you playing full out. Go ahead and mute yourselves here for the next section.
I will never surrender.
I know. I think I did skip them, but we will
never surrender
as a community. Absolutely. Come on now. That's right. I know I skipped one. I'm like, wait, I think I messed one up. But thank you so much, Lee Mighty. Lee Mighty is also, when we go to the updates, she's going to be co-hosting it with me. So I'm going to be bringing in powerhouse feminine energy up in here. Let's go. So we're going to go ahead and breathe as a community. First and foremost, we're going to breathe together, right? There's a lot of us in here. So just breathe. And just for those of you that haven't done this exercise before, we're just going to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. We're going to do this 6 times. And at the end of the 6th breath, we're going to hold it at the top, hold it as long as we can. And then we're going to let go. So let's go ahead and go forward. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. 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 Inhale through the nose. And hold it. Hold it. Hold it. And exhale whenever you feel ready to. Let it go. If you feel like a little woozy, if you feel the little positive energy in your body, that's your brain saying thank you for the oxygen. Remember, guys, to don't forget to breathe. Make sure you also do this before you're picking up the phone and talking to somebody. Make sure that you're doing this before you're going into a presentation, before you're doing an open house. Just take 6 deep breaths and look how it changes your mood. Also, something else that amplifies and changes your mood, guys, remember that gratitude is an abundance multiplier. So remember what you can be grateful for. I am so grateful for all 340 of you guys being today here as a community. I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful for the ability to see. I'm so grateful for the ability to hear. I am so grateful for the ability to speak. I'm so grateful to have technology. I'm so grateful to God for today and every day. And fill in the blank for yourself, right? As you're listening to me declaring what I'm grateful for, what are you grateful for? In your own space, because gratitude is the quickest way that you can change your state of mind. And I also want you guys to visualize right now, switching gears from gratitude to visualization. And again, this is like a little mini demonstration of your morning routine here. Visualize yourself 12 months from now. Yes, all this lawsuit, all this stuff, the dust has settled. Now you're back on the groove, right? 12 months from now, you've achieved massive success. You've served as many clients as you want, right? Fill in the blank with how many clients you served. How are you walking around? How are you speaking? How are you dressed? What kind of car are you driving? Where are you living? Where are you traveling to? Who's around you, right? Have that mental movie clearly, see it in your mind, and hold that vision alive every single day, because the brain doesn't understand if what you're visualizing is actually reality or if it's in your mind. All right. So our perception is our reality. So now we're going to go quickly here into some goals. Just goals as a community to serve 21,000 families, to achieve $10 billion in volume, and to grow our organization to 10,000 agents. So we're going to go into a local market update just to show you what happened the last 7 days, not the last month, not the last year. This is what happened the last 7 days in just 5 counties. So if your county is not here, make sure you send over a message to Miss Terry. She can actually send you over a 4-minute little presentation that I did that shows you exactly how to do this for your zip code, your city. So 1.2 billion in LA, 638 million in Orange County, 200 million in San Bernardino, 436 million in Riverside, 594 million in San Diego. These are just 5 counties. 1,200 listings hit the market in LA, 350 in Orange County, 464 in San Bernardino, 676 in Riverside, 610 in San Diego. This is the last 7 days, okay? This is $3.1 billion in production closed in the last 7 days. 2,873 homes closed in the last 7 days, $78 million in commissions paid. Okay. So, guys, you always got to get connected to the numbers, because numbers will give you the reality of what is possible. Another thing that I also want to be mindful of, like right now with all of these updates, right? Everybody is and everybody's always said this, you got to list to last. Well, list to last is probably right now the biggest subject that you could really focus on. List properties to last in this business. So I'm going to give you guys a special niche that you can focus on. If this continues an upward trend like we are seeing, this could be a big community that you could serve. I actually just did a video about this. Just to give you guys some context, maybe you want to write this down. There's about 88 million mortgages throughout the United States right now. Okay. 3.8% of these mortgages are not in foreclosure or not in notice of default just yet, but they're at least one mortgage payment behind. 10%, 10.8% of these mortgages are FHA. So what does that mean? There's about 3.4 million homes, again, right now, like literally right now, that are behind on their payments. So this should be an aspect of your presentation, an aspect of your business that you should be focusing on, because if you want to get listings, this community desperately needs your help. Last year, as you guys already know, we did 3.8 million home sales, right? So there's another big opportunity for you to, number one, help these families secure their equity, right? Get ahead of the sale date, right? Because what's going to happen when 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 million homes have to do a fire sale? That's going to start to decrease prices. So I'm not saying that the market's going to crash or anything like that, but this is just the community that you want to focus on. So if you want to capture more listings, this is very, very important for you guys to take a look at. Also, credit card debt is an all-time high. That's another update. But this is like what I want you to pay attention to. With that said, right, the average homeowner right now in the U.S. has 83, and has about 83,000 equity or more. But if somebody buys a property now over the next 5 years, they're going to be appreciating. So it's still a fantastic time to buy. But I just want you guys to have an understanding of what this might be. Like I said, a good strategy. Obviously, there's the for sale by owners, expireds. There's the circle prospecting. There's your sphere of influence. There's many communities you could tap into, but this is one big one that I'm paying attention to because I've seen these numbers grow. So now we're going to get into the NAR update discussion. Okay, NAR update discussion. So I'm going to be taking my screen away from what I'm sharing here currently, just so I can kind of show you guys. By the way, everybody will get a copy of this after the fact, a recording, and also will get these PDFs that I'm going to be going over here. Limaidi and I are going to be discussing it together. So Limaidi, go feel free to interrupt me at any time if I miss something. And just for those of you that don't know, Limaidi is my business partner, my life partner. She and I have built Let's Grow Movement together for the last 5 years. We're now accountable for over 2,000 agents in 30 different states, 9 different countries. So thank you so much for everything you do. And let's go ahead and get into the initial. I would say this is the first one that we're going to be paying attention to. This was a release by NAR, right? And this kind of just gives you a little bit of context of what actually happened. So, guys, just so you guys know, this seems like it's the worst possible scenario. And obviously, whether we agree with what NAR did or not, and whether we think they dropped the ball, most likely they did. They dropped the ball for many years. But this is the I guess the best deal that they were able to strike up this settlement. And also, it's not coming to an effect until mid-July, right? So this is also something else that I want you guys to note here, that this is not an official ruling until mid-July. So things may change, may modify a little bit. So this is the one thing that I think is a misnomer, right? Number one, what NAR did is that they're decoupling, right, the listing commission and the buyer commission. That what they're proposing is that they want buyers to pay their buyer's compensation and they want sellers to pay their seller's compensation. It does not mean that sellers or the listing agent can't compensate you as a buyer's agent. Okay, it doesn't mean that. So I just want to be clear about that. You're still going to be able to do that, whether that obviously compresses commissions and everything else that's going to happen, right? That's going to be up to the official ruling and what actually happens. The other thing, which a lot of us have already been doing this, but if you haven't been doing this, you want to have a written agreement, right? When you're working with the buyer to stipulate the commission that you are charging, right? So a buyer's agency agreement. We are going to be doing additional trainings moving forward to demonstrate and showcase a successful buyer's agency agreement presentation. But I really want you guys to treat every single buyer like a listing, right? Like really showcasing and demonstrating what it is that your value proposition is and what you're going to be providing as far as value. Guys, I wouldn't be worried about this. The people that should be worried about this is the people that are treating this like a part-time side hustle, that are not committed to this business 100%. Then I think you should be concerned. But if you truly have a desire to serve buyers and sellers, this is where you're going to truly shine. I think this is where you're going to make more money than you ever have. While the dust settles, obviously, this is it's going to be a little shaky in the interim. So Limaidi, anything else you want to share about this before I go into the settlement fact sheet and the Q&A?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is that we're seeing a lot of headlines. We're seeing a lot of news out there and people resharing the news. The 6% commission is gone. The 5% commission is gone. All of these different things. What's gone is that they can't advertise it on the MLS. It doesn't mean they still can't pay it. And kind of where the projections are going is that, again, we don't know. We're stepping into a new unknown territory, at least here in the US. But people can still offer this commission. Agents can still offer this commission. They could still negotiate 5-6%. They could still advise their clients, which I think is going to be the biggest key here, because clients are reading, hey, I no longer have to pay 6%. They've never truly had to pay 6%. They could pay whatever they want, right? Because that's negotiable. what they no longer are doing is advertising on the MLS. So savvy agents, and for all the agents on this call, the most important thing is going to go back to educating your client, letting them know, seeing where market conditions are. And a lot of sellers and a lot of consumer feedback up until this point has still been, they still want to offer something because they don't want to handle it. And they don't want to put their listing agent in a position where they're going to be the liaison between both parties, because then they're not truly being served. So that's a really important distinction.
Yes, 100%. Very well said. Very well said. So the other thing is that, you know, the implications for members, right? So these types of compensations available for buyer brokers would continue to take multiple forms depending on broker consumer negotiations, including but not limited to fixed fee commissions paid directly to by consumer, concessions from the seller, concessions, right, being the keyword, or portion of the listings broker's compensation, right? So those are things that I want you to pay attention to there. Also, right, the official ruling states that nowhere on the MLS, not even in the private remarks, we're going to be able to put in, hey, we're offering 2% or 3%. But, you know, something that I've thought about that I think it's going to be a fantastic idea in the interim, right, when this goes into effect, right, is that you should have like some sort of email, like let's just say, for example, at info@letsgrowmovement.com. So every agent that shows your property, you can have them email that email, right, for showing instructions. And in the showing instructions, you can put an auto email, an auto responder, and stipulate exactly what the compensation for broker co-op is going to be, right? So you can put an auto responder in there. Nothing says that we can't have agents email us for showing instructions. So what I would do is that I would put in an email, info@letsgrowmovement.com, send it over, do an auto responder, and stipulate buyer's commission 2% or 3%, whatever the case is. You know, text this number for showing da 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 da. So that's gonna be one of the things that I think is going to be an idea as we move forward with this. There's also through NAR, guys, every single one of you has a ton of resources. So this is actually pulled directly from NAR. This is actually a PDF that will also be sent out to you guys. But this will give you the coverage of the NAR releases, what the implication for broker owners are. Everybody that's under $2 billion has been basically shielded from these lawsuits, right? So that means that no copycat lawsuits can come in and start to sue individuals or brokerages. Brokerages that do above $2 billion, obviously they're going to be part of the settlement. They're going to have to pay as well. I'm extremely grateful that I'm part of this beautiful company, because for me, for example, right, our organization, we did what, $3.7 billion last year as a community. So had we have been anywhere else, we would have also been part of this. So this is just, again, this is a good thing, even though, again, while the dust settles, it may seem like it's a negative thing, but this specifically breaks it down. Like, I'm going to go over just like some highlights that I think are very important to go over. But this will be sent out to you guys as well. I pulled this directly from the NAR Settlement website. So, Limaidi, anything you want to share about this here?
Well, in general, I think one of the biggest points is we're still seeing more things unfold. I believe this was released on Saturday, so it was released after the fact. We're still going to have more things released. I was actually in Washington, D.C. last week, where one of the heads of NAR and also the person that was handling the litigation on this case was sharing more about this case. And I think the consensus was that we were going to maybe see this down the line in a couple of years. Ultimately, I think we all knew it was bound to happen, but we didn't expect it to happen so soon. And nobody truly expected it to happen so soon. So with more things being released, and as we're going to know more, one of the rulings was also that we're all going to have compensation agreements with our buyers. It's unknown if we're going to continue to use the same card form that we have for that, or if there's going to be a new one created. I kind of think there's more than likely going to be a new one created. But one of the things that we're committed to at Let's Grow Movement, one of the things that me and Leo are committed to, is no agent left behind. We truly believe in this industry. We truly believe in every single one of you. And our commitment to you is to continue to provide you guys with the information, with as much as we can, with whatever updates come through this, and how to pivot in this new realm that we're all stepping into, and to be here for every single one of you.
Yes. Thank you, Limaidi. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. No agent left behind. So, Guys, this settlement fact sheet will be sent over to you guys. There's also a Q&A, also settlement worksheet here that I know there's people that are posting questions as we speak right now. So we are going to get to some questions towards the end of this conversation. But I mean, this other sheet that I also will send you, this also says like, hey, why did NAR actually enter this agreement, right? Like this is a specific like question answer format. What are the key terms of the agreement, right? The release of liability being one of the biggest ones, being the fact that we need written agreements, the settlement payment of $418 million, and also NAR continues to deny any wrongdoing, right? So even though we have a settlement, doesn't mean that they're admitting any fault here. They're basically still saying the same thing. Guys, like there was the proposed plan, right, with the DOJ and a couple of these different institutions. They just wanted to get rid of compensation altogether. So again, this is like quote unquote a best case scenario solution here. Anything else here, Lee Mighty, that we want me to dig into? As I know that we kind of covered a couple of the key points, and obviously we'll get into Q&A here, but anything else here before we move on to our special guest?
No, I think we could go over in the Q&A at the end.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So without further ado, I want to bring in a special guest, Mr. Aaron Hodson. He is with Sell Well Coaching. He's been in the business 25 years, over 5,000 transactions, and he also became the CEO of one of the largest growing real estate companies in the world. He's helped out over 16,000 real estate professionals all throughout his career. Why I wanted to bring Aaron specifically to this conversation, because he's originally from Australia and New Zealand, and he understands what happened then, right? Like, again, he has an insight of what happened in his marketplace back then. So I want him to bring us the valuable insights of what we could do to pivot and capitalize and how we can thrive in this new environment. So Mr. Aaron Hodson, I just reached out to him when this happened. So I just want to thank you for being a yes, for being here with our community and sharing your wisdom. So without further ado, let's give a huge warm welcome to Mr. Aaron Hodson with Sell Well Coaching. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you.
Hey.
Well, first off, buddy, what a great way to start a meeting. All this doom and gloom and everybody's panicking about what's going on around the place. And I'm probably not seeing it the same way everybody else is. And quite honestly, I think this is, there's a lot more positive in what's going on than negative. I know, hey, the shock of this all coming out has kind of thrown a few people off, but it's something that's kind of needed to happen to our industry. So some of these things might sound a little bit backwards, but I mean, when this happened, it's over a decade ago now. The first 6 months of it happening was pretty tough. And a lot of that is just the unknown and the media stories, the press release, and it always creates a bit of anxiety in a lot of people. But if you sort of move through all the crap and you actually see what it is, nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. We've always had to show our value. We've always had to really show people, what it is that we offer. We've been working on strategies for this the last 6 months because eventually it was going to happen, irrespective of what the outcome was of the lawsuit. This was always going to be part of our business. And I know you've heard Leo talk about this many times, understanding your value, know what you've got to put in front of people. And honestly, if you're sitting here panicking now, you're probably more upset about not understanding what your true value is to the client. I know that sounds pretty harsh, but we need to understand exactly what it is, because we are now going to be put in a position where we have to run our businesses. We can't just go by luck and shop by commission. And a couple of interesting things that I noticed through that fact sheet, which I've been inundated with all this stuff as well, Leo. So the last 48 hours, it's been like, all these problems that are going on. But like I said, one of the strategies that we came up with about 6 months ago was you need to split it. I mean, the DOJ was going to get involved with a decoupling anyway, which means those two commissions can't be together. But I'm going to start with a bit of a quick question. If this was going to have such an impact on our business the way that we think it is, why do discount brokers not completely own our industry? They've always been here. There's always been people that'll do it for cheap, do it for nothing. They've never, ever in the history of our industry maintained more than 6% of the industry. So if low commissions was actually going to change the way that homes are sold, it would have happened years ago. And so really what comes down to is there's always going to be a couple that are going to look for a deal. It's business. You're always going to have to look at what those opportunities are. We've been splitting the commission for months. We've been splitting it to a listing fee, packaging up the buying side as a potential marketing strategy that you can use. You are going to have to get very comfortable with getting on the phone. I think some of the areas that might be a little bit challenged are things like showing time, where you just go and book, just do it on your own, go show a home. You're going to need to speak to the listing agent. You need to find out exactly what the deal is before you do it. These are all processes that you should have in your business anyway. These are all things that you should know exactly what you're dealing with. I used to love calling the listing agent specifically so I knew what I was dealing with. Am I going to be dealing with a listing agent that actually knows how to handle the process, or am I going to have to reshape the way that I'm presenting my offer? So it's just really bringing in some fundamentals that are going to help you change your business. And I shared this with Leo, and prior to this happening in Australia many, many years ago, and I've sold real estate in 10 countries, and the other 9, this has always been part of the way that it works. And so when this sort of came out, the first 6 months was a little bit bumpy, and we did lose a lot of the part-timers because it's very, very hard to show the true value if it's not your full-time gig. It's something that's always going to be a bit of a challenge. And so for the first 6 months, a little bumpy, and the average income was about 80 to 85 grand a year. And within a year of this happening, the average income of a listing agent jumped to nearly $360,000 a year. That's a significant jump. We've always only focused on the listing side. We have a lot of strategies for buyers agents to show them how to move through that process. And I still think there's going to be a ton of money to be made on the buy side, providing you can actually treat a buyer a little bit more like they're a listing. You're going to have to do the same process bringing on a new buyer as what you would with going out and getting a listing. You're going to have a very detailed process. Buyer consult forms. You're going to have to go through meetings before you even want to take a buyer out. You're going to want to make sure that everybody's pre-approved. You're going to need to make sure that your buyer is actually qualified to do what you do. You're going to have to reach out to every single listing agent before you do it. You're also going to need to know what the process is. You're going to need to have a buyer broker agreement, but you're also going to have to be prepared to be able to negotiate. Because if you call a listing agent and they say, look, we're offering 2 and you've got a buyer broker at 3, you need to determine ethics. You need to determine business, which is sometimes you've got to, if you've got a good buyer that can close really, really quickly, sometimes you're going to have to think about taking your money and moving on to the next deal. That is only going to be an issue for those people that are really struggling to hang on to the 1 or 2 clients. You're going to have a massive depth of pipeline. You're going to need to be looking at where your deals are coming from 3 to 4 to 6 months down the track. And I think this is one of the greatest changes that we're going to have in the industry, is because most live in the moment. We're living at what we've got right now. And something we've always pushed. You need to know what your 90-day pipeline looks like. You need to have potential sellers. You need to have potential buyers that you're walking through that communication so that you can actually build out that value prop before you get to the ability to do the deal. And honestly, as I read through this, there isn't a lot of negativity that's actually changing our business. The only one thing that is a complete change is you can no longer advertise, what you're offering to the buy side. Which, how bad is that when you've actually got to pick up the phone and call the listing agent? I mean, that's really the only change. We've always been independent contractors. We've always been in control of what happens in our business. And I think this is one of those times where, if you think about NAR as a whole, it's been protecting memberships from both sides. So they're lobbying to keep the commissions where it is and making sure everybody advertise it. Half of their membership is on the buy side. So that's just membership fees. The other thing that's going to be disappearing will be dual agency. Biggest thing that I found when this changed for me is about 70% of my listings became dual agency. The buyers came directly to me. And that's just the way they came in. I had my listing fee. There was the ability to do it. And you will have to sort of get a bit used to that. That's probably going to be the short-term effect, as you will get a lot of buyers that'll go directly to the listing agents till they realize that they lose quite a bit of negotiation skill when they're actually dealing directly with the listing agent. So you will see a little bit of that, but that'll disappear pretty quickly because people realize they need representation. They need someone to actually negotiate on their behalf. But if I was to give you guys one bit of advice from this moment moving forward, is if you sat down on Friday and you can't sit in front of somebody and say, this is 100% exactly what the value that I bring to the table, that's the problem you've got to fix. It's not the industry. It's not the market. It's not what's going on with the lawsuit. It's us running our businesses like a business. If you've got one deal in the pipeline, you've got one person in your pipeline, you need to work out how to make that 20 or 30 people, because our market and our industry as a whole is sitting in a bottleneck right now, without a doubt. We've got so many people that want to do something, aren't really making a move just because of the way what's happening in our industry. Those that are ready for when that bottleneck pops are going to be some of the most well-rewarded financially realtors this industry's seen for years, because there's people dropping out every day. I would imagine over the next 7 days, you'll see another significant percentage of realtors will just give up their licenses and go and find something else to do. This is all too hard for them to handle. This is also something that we needed to happen. But I don't want anybody to, not to understand that this is also the greatest opportunity that's happened to us in a long time. And if anybody could ever have a wish for this industry, was to elevate the skill set, elevate the level of professionalism, what we do every single day. This gives us the opportunity to do it. And ironically, when this change happened for me, I went from doing about 15 deals a month to 60 deals a month in less than a year, because I focused on what I was good at, which was understand my listing strategies. I didn't have one, I had 20 different listing strategies, from 90-day listing processes, breaking it down to 3 steps. I had people that I was working with to list their properties 6 months before they went to go on the market. That's where you show value. If you're only prepared to show up when the deal's ready to be done, this is going to be a very, very short career for you. If you want to show up for people when they're 6 months away from selling their home, you are going to build one of the greatest businesses that you've ever had the ability to do in this industry, because it's giving us the ability to get in front of people and do things we couldn't do before. And also, if we're all really, really honest with ourselves, most of deals that we see that go sideways is generally because the agents are arguing over commissions. Now it's going to be a little clearer. You're going to have to determine what that is up front. You're going to know exactly what's going on. I do think you will get the ability to be able to negotiate the commission, though. So if you've got a buyer broker agreement with 3% and you've got a client that's got a great offer, I absolutely have no problem with you getting your 3%. However, you're going to have to be very careful with your buyers, because if you want 3% and you're coming in with a ridiculous lowball offer full of contingencies, you don't deserve your money. So you're going to have to get very, very conscious with setting up your buyers to understand exactly what it is. There are some solutions out there. And I do a lot of work in the mortgage business, and there is some lobbying at the moment to potentially bring the buyers' commissions into the mortgage side of things, where there's the ability for them to have it financed. Not sure whether that's going to happen super quickly, but that is an option out there. Buyer concessions, seller concessions, I should say, for that commission, depending on what it is. But hey, if there's a great offer on the table and it means that seller giving up another 1% to get that deal done, they're going to do it all day long. And we've been creating programs around this and how to negotiate through this for months. We've got agents that are actually doing this at the moment, having a ton of success with it. The one that we're having the most success with at the moment is splitting it. The decoupling, we've been doing that for a while. We'd go to a listing appointment, say our listing fee is 3%. Now we need to understand exactly what we're going to use to leverage on the marketing side. And it just means we need to be aware of what we're going to be prepared to offer for the right offer when it comes in, if they're represented by a buyer. So we're doing everything, inside of the guidelines of doing it. It's been incredibly, very, very successful. We had a lot of success with it. We have had a few that have wanted to try it for the first couple of weeks without that, that offering. It's a good market, so they can probably get away with it, but very few are actually getting through that 2 weeks, because you're eliminating 80% of the buyers in the market if you do not offer a buyer compensation. I'm going to have to get used to calling that something completely different. But if you don't offer it, you're going to wipe out 80% of the buyers, because they're going to be represented by an agent. They may have a buyer broker agreement, and that's the risk that a seller takes. And understand, our industry has been the same for 30 odd years. This has always been the way that it's been done. And if we go back to that very first statement, if it was all about commission, the discount brokerages would own our marketplace, and they haven't, they never will. There's a reason why it doesn't work. You think about Open Door, you think about all the iBuyer models, where are they now? In a market like this, it doesn't happen. Now, the only thing that I will say to be a word of caution is we're in a pretty hot market at the moment. We've got a lot of buyers. If the market slows a little bit, it will have very limited effect, because when the market gets slower, we really desperately need to find the right buyers to come in. That compensation is going to be a lot more favorable. Where you will see some challenges is if all of a sudden, we've sort of kind of been hoping for this to happen, but if a rates drop to 4% tomorrow, we're going to have some issues, because the buyers are going to go directly in, plenty of cash out there. It's not going to happen, so it's not a panic stage for that at the moment. But I would be redoing all your listing presentations. I'd be going through everything. What are my different options? And for those that actually were on the call when I was here last time, thanks, Leo, one of the things that I absolutely remember telling you guys is you need to have options. You cannot have one thing only. When you sit in front of a seller, you're going to have 3 or 4 different options. What's my option if you want to sell today? What's a breakdown process if you want to do it over the next 6 months? How are we actually going to get them to that point? And you're going to need to do the same thing on the buy side. It's not just about, when you're working with a buyer, showing them homes. You're going to need to get them to really understand the power behind the negotiation, somebody representing them on their side. I would be even more inclined, something we've rolled out recently is a listing presentation for buyers. It's a buyer presentation. Do it exactly the same way we do a listing, but we go through every little step that we do, from how we negotiate, inspections, how we negotiate the offer, how we go through contingencies, how all the different things that we do. And if I could ever have one massive complaint about realtors, is we try to keep too much from our clients. We try to hide everything to mitigate the pain, but what you're actually doing is mitigating your value. And something that I always did in my business, I would share everything that I was going to do with you. So even at the listing appointment, I'll talk to you about what's going to happen if potentially the appraisal comes in light. Here's our strategy of solving it. And it feeds for me from a statement I love, that bad news delivered early is just information. If you sit there and hope something doesn't happen, you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to give you some problems. And so this is also another way of sharing huge value. Share everything, share all your communication, how I communicate with people. I would even share my communication plans of how I followed up with people after open home so they could see the true value. And I never, ever in my entire career had to discount my fees because I could show value from time to time. If a property was listed right, these people wanted to do something special, I'd still consider it, but I wouldn't have to do it because nobody questioned the value. It took a long time to get to that level. But I think the only reason we get objections over this right now is because you're giving those clients reasons to have objections because they're not seeing the value. They're not seeing the real process behind what you're doing. So take this opportunity. It's not coming till mid-July. It'll probably drag on a little bit more than that. I think the settlement was inevitable. We needed to have a little bit of, let's get this thing out of the way. It was always going to happen. And I think the fear, and for those that understand how those class action lawsuits was, it was 1.8 billion, but if you decide to fight it, it triples straight away. So they weren't talking about 1.8 billion. It was going to be 5.3 at the end if they didn't. And that could effectively wiped out some pretty big brokerages. So the settlement is basically pulling everybody out of it and giving them the ability to do it. If you're worried about NAR, don't. They've got $1 billion in assets. So the $418 million won't take too much to get rid of, and they will space it out. But we've always been independent. We've always had the ability to make our own decisions. We choose what we do every day when we get up. And you can choose to either invest your time and energy into the negativity. News stories are news stories. There's never any news story that says, hey, things are just fine today. There's always doom and gloom. That's the way we get attention. That's the way they sell memberships. But none of this should have any impact on you. The only impact it should have on you is a kick in the ass to start driving forward. Like, what do I need to do to change my business? Change is inevitable. It's going to happen every single day in our business. If you resist it, you're going to become a casualty of it. And something that I think of you immediately when I think of this, Leo. And for me, I love this statement. The next 12 months is either going to expose you or define you. You can make your choice right now what's going to happen. You're either going to be exposed as someone that probably shouldn't have been in this business to start with because you didn't have the ability to navigate challenge. It's always going to be there. Or it's going to define you as somebody that is absolutely dialed in. I mean, I've had probably 40 phone calls in the last 24 hours about it with that fear factor. Once you have a conversation about what it's really going to change, it's just media stuff in our head. If you want some advice, stay away from the media. Just focus on your business right now. And depending on what you read, there's going to be lots of different variations. Market's going to crash. Home prices is going to drop is another one that I saw this morning, which has completely got me baffled. I actually think it could do the opposite. It could drive home prices up a little bit because it's going to create a bit more competition. I've never seen anything with a reduction in home prices in all the countries that I've worked in when this happened. It actually went a little bit the other way, drove them up a little bit, lower commissions. But the other thing that I think is probably a little bit further out, but something you need to get really prepared for now is listing agents are going to control the market. Always have, always will. But that group of listing agents number is going to get bigger. In 2 to 3 years, this is what's going to happen is you're going to get capped on that buying commission. It's going to sort of settle down and it'll be in that 1.5 to 2% range. Will be about max that you'll get on the buy side. You'll be able to get a lot more in some of those unique specific properties, but just general residential resales, it will get a little bit competitive. But you've got a few years before that even becomes an impact. I would imagine it takes a little bit longer here just because of the numbers. But you've got to focus on the listings. If you want stability, you want surety in this business, you want to know how to control everything, you've got to focus on the listings. But here's where the kicker comes. No listing comes from a lead gen system. Listings come from people that you know and referrals and people that will actually give them the ability to have you in front of it, because we get referrals for listings based on the relationship we create with people. It's a contractual obligation. And I've shared this many times, but if I went to one of my if I had a buyer that wanted to buy a home and I went to Leo and said, hey, could you represent this person? I don't really have too many concerns about what Leo's doing because the listing agent is the one that determines whether my client's going to get the home. Leo's just going to be doing the navigation along the way and a lot more, obviously, because it's Leo. But for me to refer a listing, I need to know him. I need to know that he's not going to screw up my friendship. So if you really want to do something today that's going to build your business, any single person that you know or met, I'd be talking to him right now. I'd be absolutely on the phone. Something that I'd be saying is, look, might not be the right time for you to sell right now, but if you're going to do it over the next year or two, now's a good time to start putting a plan together. Start building that pipeline, start leveraging things. And this is where character starts to become a really big part of your business, because we're very good when there's a deal to be done, but we're terrible when there's not. And your character will get shown what you do before and after that listing becomes an opportunity. So you're going to start treating everybody like they're going to sell in the next 2 years. And funny enough for me, one of the biggest aha moments I got was the people that were selling 6 to 12 months down the track, became my greatest referral source because I was doing something no other realtor was doing just because I was taking care of you. You think about 2020 and 2021, we had 1.9 million listings that didn't come to the market because of forbearances, low interest rates, didn't need to. Those things will all come back to fruition at some point. Job losses, changes, kids leaving home, divorces, death, those things will all come back at some point. Start focusing on the relationship and you will get the listing opportunities. And I personally don't think being a listing agent's a choice. It's a choice of changing the way you run your business. You just can't get up tomorrow and say, look, I'm just going to go list homes and still treat people exactly the same way. I made that decision because I wanted to be in control of my paycheck. I wanted to go, you know what? Isn't it easier if I just stand in the house and have everybody come to me rather than grab a buyer and go to 15 different homes and waste all day? Like, why don't I just stand in one spot and have everybody come to me? That sounds a little bit, I was young and I thought to myself, hey, this seems like a really great method, and it worked incredibly well. And it's something that we've always focused on. 90% of our agents all dominant on the listing side. We've still got agents right now that are doing 20, 25 deals a month that have been rolling out this new listing strategy. And ironically, it's not so much a new way of doing commission, it's just a new way of presenting it. I also had a phone call from someone the other day that was trying to tell me that they were now going to charge 8% because they feel like they want to make twice as much more money. Well, that person won't be in the industry for much longer because when you've got things like this going on, it's really hard to show that value. But for me, it's share everything. It's really understand what it is and really get in front of people and challenge yourself, because you're going to get a lot more tougher objections than you've had in the past. But if you know and understand your business, you believe in it, you know what your true value is, they're just normal everyday conversations. When I first saw it happening, I thought, you know what, this is something that's par for the course. I think the 2020, 2021 environment kind of brought a little bit to the fore because people were overpaying so much for homes and nobody likes to spend too much money. And if there's ever a window of opportunity to get out of it, people are going to jump into it. And I also think a lot of the reason behind the settlement is, I don't know whether anybody saw this last week, but it was the attorneys reaching out to get an early access to their money that kind of drove this along. And the attorneys' fees were over $100 million. So there's a lot of people that, that's the only people that have made much money doing this. But so I think from my standpoint, this is the greatest day that we've ever seen in this industry, because finally it's come to a tipping point where something has to change. We could have dragged this thing on for another couple of years and we'd all be sitting here worrying about it, but nobody's really making a move. Now that we've got to a tipping point, we know what we've got to do. And clarity is the most important thing in our business. And if anything it was producing was a little bit of cloudiness, not sure what's going to happen, who do we listen to, who do we believe? Well, the only person you should listen to right now is yourself. If you don't really believe in what you're doing, you're a little nervous, you can make a change to it. What's your social presence look like? What does your listing presentation look like? Do you have a buyer package? Every single thing in your business needs to be dialed in. So when you sit in front of somebody, there isn't a question around your value. Get that right, this will have very limited effect, because one thing for certain is you're going to have less competition. And if you can step up, that becomes a big guiding factor between everything. And we've got people that are in their second year in the business that are still listing 5 or 6 properties a month. They shouldn't be, but they are because of their process that they're putting in play. Took a little bit of work to get it there, but you guys have a little bit of time up your sleeve now to really dial it in. This is not a time for this to be a part-time, half-assed sort of a gig. It's get in here and run this thing like a business, because I can guarantee everybody in this call right now would not be unhappy if they were minimum making $350,000 a year. Also understand that the dollars for us were a lot less, so that's going to be $500,000 for you here. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this, is sometimes change has to happen very, very quickly. And I read a story the other day, and there was a quote in it about, when things get uneasy and we're anxious and we're nervous, it shuts down logical thinking, but it amplifies irrational emotions. And that's kind of where we sit right now, is that logical thinking about it, the panic takes over. Irrational emotions is, I'm losing all my business, losing all my money. No, it's not. The logical thinking is right. Opportunity to change. Let's get forced into doing it. Nobody wants to change when someone tells them they have to do it now. And this is up to you to say, look, make the changes, do whatever I need to do, dial in your business. But there's only one thing I can guarantee that you can protect, and that's the people that you know. And if you're being lazy and you're not doing it with the people that you know, that's the defining moment for you. That's the exposure, that you're only going to be really, really good with people when there's a paycheck in it for you. Start stacking your paychecks now. And I could share something with you that just shows you how my mental space works. Is, hey, I'm like every salesperson. Money's what we got into this business for. We wanted to earn a lot of money, to have the freedom of life to do what we did. But I also found that was a real negative thought process for me to be always chasing money. Wrong thing for me to look at. And so one of the things I used to do for myself is, every time I met a new client, I used to have this dummy checkbook, and I'd write myself a check for what the potential commission was. And all I would do is I'd staple those to files on my desk. And if I started to panic about money, I would just look at all of these things and go, what is the quickest one for me to cash? What's the quickest way for me to get somebody closer to the end? And it sort of took me away from the whole commission check thing. And really what it did is, look, I've got $1 million in leads sitting on my desk. Get off your ass and go and convert something. Get some of them closer to the table. So sometimes it's about finding ways to motivate yourself to point in the right direction. And I think the greatest motivator you can have is pain. It's not glory. It's not sitting there thinking about where you're going to go or where I could potentially end up. Pain is the greatest fight motivator. Now, if you've been in a tough situation in your life, how badly do you not want to go back there again? Because this is that defining moment. If you've been in tough situations, here's your moment to make sure you never go back there again. And for me, that's always been the motivator. I never forget the toughest parts of my career, because that's what makes damn sure I never get lazy on my business. I know what my success markers are. I know the things I've got to do every single day to keep my business moving forward. On my bad days, I know exactly what I can go do that's going to produce results. It's about really narrowing it down to a point of control of doing the things that you know are going to work every day. And a big part of that for me was to stop listening to other people, stop reading the news, stop reading the press. You know, I've got everything I need to know. Now it's my assumption to sit here and go, what do I need to change in my business to really leap everything forward and take control of what I'm doing? I mean, your network of people is going to have no problem paying you a full fee to do a great job. The only other thing I would suggest is net sheets are going to be an absolute necessity. If you're not using net sheets, which is when you're sitting with sellers, understanding what that net return is, because that's going to give you the leverage to go up and above it, understanding what that marketing will be to be able to draw in a potential buyer's agent. So net sheets are going to be something super important to be bringing back into that, because that's what people are looking at. Commission goes, what am I going to end up with my home sells? So thousands of different things you can be going and doing. And this isn't the end, this is the start. This is a wonderful opportunity where it's now time to really get things dialed in. And you know, I think the only sad part about it is most people have waited to this moment before they've decided to make a change. This was always happening. We started in November of last year, going, at some point this is happening. Let's just get everybody comfortable with it, because now it's not such a big shock. These people have been doing it for 6 months. They're ready to roll it out. You still have that ability. Only thing is, it's a little bit more public now, so you will get some sellers that'll be talking to you about it. But it is what it is. It's just get a real, understanding of what you're dealing with, what true value is, and it won't be a problem. Absolutely. But it always comes back to that. Cheap has always been here. None of these rules are new. Fees have always been negotiable. The only change is that you just can't promote it now. And what that does is it stops the agents going through the MLS looking for the 3% commissions, and that's who they're going to sell their home to. So the buyers are actually going to get to see the homes that they potentially wouldn't have in the past. So lots of really, really great things.
Hey, Aaron,
like I said, we've been working on it for months. It's just so easy to get around it. Your competition's not going to do it. You have an incredible human like Leo out here pushing you along to make sure you get out and do it. I say make the move today. Don't be like everybody else and sit down and hope something more comes out that makes it a little bit easier. Sit back, get in your bubble, understand exactly what your business is, and know and understand your value. And somebody actually asked me this the other day about confidence. Where do I get my confidence from? I'm not that super confident guy that runs out telling everybody I'm great at what I do. My confidence comes from the fact that I know if you give me a shot, you're going to get 150% of every single thing I can throw at you. And if you lack a little confidence at the moment, you've still got more to give. You got to make sure that you're giving your clients every single thing you can. Elevate that business. And I tell you what, this is a great opportunity to separate from your competition, so they didn't even know you were there in the first place. So I would say dig deep. I know there's a few questions popping up, so if anybody's got anything to sort of throw at me.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, brother. You're awesome, man. You're amazing, bro. Appreciate you sharing. And kind of like the general, thank you, brother. Let's give him a big round of applause, guys. Give him a big round of applause. Light up the chat if you guys found that really valuable. I'm going to summarize kind of like the two questions that I've seen here. Maybe Aaron, if you can chime in on what you think, give us a little bit of context, right? And so number one, the question that I think people are sharing here is, how does the dialogue change with the seller? Number one, right? What did you guys pivot, right? Kind of like, if you can give us some nuggets with that regard, and that'll be one. And then there's also a lot of people like, well, what if they don't have what if the buyers, like the VA buyers, what if they don't have a lot of money? Where's the money going to be coming from, right? So I think that's kind of like the general two questions that I've seen. So what can you say to that?
Well, the pivoting the conversation is it's a change of words. And I mean, we do a whole lot of thing around the human psychology of sales as well. And sometimes a word in a very different place and so the one thing too is never avoid it. We just dive straight into it. Everybody knows it's out there. And so the one thing we say is we talk about the commission, 6% commission, big chunk of money. All of a sudden, here we go. So the thing for me is splitting it was really, really easy. The other thing that we suggested on doing, 3% seems like a big number for a lot of people, 6% does as well, but trying to work out what that number is really, really challenging. So we also ran some models where we were doing actual numbers. So we were taking a price sheet where we'd have a $500,000 home, and if it sells, it's exactly what the fee is. So giving people real numbers was an easy way to sort of transition the conversation. I used to do this all the time because whenever I'd sit with somebody and talk about a percentage, they sort of give you this strange look. So I just had a fee sheet. If your home was between 5 and 600,000, here's a fee sheet. If it sells for 550, this is exactly what it's going to cost you. If it sells for 560, this is what it is. It costs you another $30. Big deal. It's not a lot of money. So, but just using it a little bit different, but sympathizing with it's also part of it as well. Look, our industry's always been like this. And if you don't want to pay the buying side, great, don't do it. But you're going to eliminate 80% of the buyers in the market. I don't think you want to take that risk.
Yes.
However, we have the ability now that we can use it more as a marketing and negotiating thing. As before, if we advertise 3%, that's what you had to pay. Now you've got the ability to potentially negotiate it on the type of deal that comes in. And if you actually listen to what I'm saying, it's an us against them thing. It's not about this is what I'm trying to get out of you. This is what we need to do to be able to get you the right price. So little strategies around that. I also see a question in here about the DOJ. What was the the theory around what they do? Nobody knows what the theory was, and it was just because I think actually there's a part of that which is true. And for anybody that sort of goes back far enough, the actual whole understanding of realtor commission is kind of illegal, because what we're doing is, as realtors commission is exactly worded like this, it's a success fee. And so we go to a seller, they pay us a percentage, historically 6% on us successfully getting a sale. The logic behind it was, how can I take half of that money and give it to someone who's actively trying to bring the price down? And for anybody that remembers a company, Purple Bricks, they did this years ago, bankrupt in 2 years because it's unethical. It doesn't work. It's against a whole lot of ethical reasons. And so the whole fundamentals of how real estate commission work is a little bit flawed. 6% success fee, and I'm going to give a half of it to someone who's actively trying to bring it down. So we just break it up. And then when we were probably going to now be able to reward the seller the buyer based on their offer. If they come in with a really great offer and we include they can put that in there, it's part of the loan, it's the home price, away they go. If we're not, we're probably going to knock this buyer out because they're going to have to try and find the money to pay their buying agent from somewhere. So it's just part of changing the conversation. I say sympathize with them, be on their side, but it's no longer them against us. We need to be on the same team because frankly, the way that the industry's been in the past, it's a little flawed. For some, not for everybody. I say that lightly because the majority of our industry is very skilled, does a great job, but we're always going to become sacrificial for those one or two that don't do it right. It's kind of why we're sitting where we are now. So verbiage is a big one. I think stop using the words commission and buyers commissions and things like that. Buyers side's a marketing strategy now. If you don't want to put anything out there, you're going to limit the amount of marketing we're going to be able to do because 80% of the buyers aren't coming through. Just simple, the way our industries always work. But changing the verbiage. I think you've got to really understand how to talk to people. We're doing session after session at the moment around the listing presentation, how to overcome these objections, how to talk through it, how to actually get them to understand what those net sheets look like, what the benefits of having, the availability to have some marketing dollars to the buy side, what the difference is. And of about 650 listings that our agents have listed so far this year, only 3 decided they didn't want to pay buy side. So it is not a big chunk of people. They get it. But I'd be more concerned if they didn't ask me than if they did. It's public knowledge. Everybody knows it's out there. Just be prepared to deal with it when it comes in. And like I said, the best thing is sympathize with it. Hey, it's just part of the business, how it works.
Yes.
What was the other
Very
question
well
there, Leah?
Very well said. Very well said, brother. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Let's give, again, Aaron a big round of applause. I actually just dropped Aaron's social media. Make sure you give him a follow. Follow this man. He's always sharing valuable nuggets. And we are going to be doing more presentations specifically on listing presentations, specifically on how you can capitalize more. And we will, as we know more stuff, guys, we will keep you up to date. But Aaron, man, thank you, brother. Thank you so much, man. I know you
reach
were
out. We're going to be sharing a ton of stuff around it, and it's just all guidance just to help people sort of get their heads around it. But like I say, dig deep, educate yourself on what you need to know, but educate yourself on yourself. You need to be super confident in what you provide. If you understand that, then there really is no restrictions to what we can go do. And like I said, this is something that needed to happen. Whether we wanted it or not, it's irrelevant. We just got to deal with it the way that it is. It's a natural change in our business. And I personally think it's going to be one of the greatest moves forward for our industry, not a step back. It needed to be cleaned up a little bit. We needed to bring that professionalism back. We need a lot more people making $500,000, $600,000 a year than we need people making 30. This is
Yes.
what's going to do for our business. So make a choice what side of the
100%.
fence you want to be on, because it's going to be a fun place to be.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, hey, I know I'm not the only one that thinks this, right? Like I've always said this, like sometimes you get on the, get on a horn with the listing agent that doesn't know what they're doing, or a buyer's agent, vice versa. This is going to clean up our industry. Like you said, it's going to elevate everybody's performance. It's going to up level the professionalism. So again, Aaron, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Aaron. You're
Well,
the man.
thank you.
I'm fired up, man.
Reach out if you ever need anything. Happy to help any way I
Let's
can.
make it happen.
Hey.
Let's go.
Thank you. This was great.
Yes, absolutely. And guys, just so you know, the recording will go out to everybody at the end of this. I am going to be installing the frequently asked questions. I'm going to give you guys the multiple PDFs. But hey, I just want to open it up. I know we're 1 minute over officially, right? Anybody that wants to share, I think Mr. George Salazar actually messaged me right before this presentation, because he's been in the business just a little bit, like 40, I think, 30, 40 years and stuff. And give us some context, man. Like, I know you were sharing some valuable stuff, brother. Go ahead. And he's out in Beverly Hills, California. He deals with luxury properties. Go ahead, man.